Nobody's giving me back all the time I wasted in classrooms, which amounts to at least 3+ years. Years made of role-play exercises, which I hate, of listening tests that only made me, honestly, uncomfortable without making me actually progress, or grammar charts that I could barely link to anything that I actually needed to express myself. When I started speaking, finally I realized that almost everything I had done in a class wasn't actually useful to help me express myself. This realization is something that lives in my head every day. When I was a teenager, we read Seneca in Latin class, and actually that was the only useful thing from those 5 years of Italian high school. If you're curious to know more about him, I linked a very well-made video in the description. But in general, he kept coming back to the same idea. We act as if we had all the time in the world, we waste it, and then we are shocked when it runs out. That stayed with me, especially because I was actually feeling like I was wasting my time, at school, because I was feeling like, okay, I'm just losing days of life instead of actually learning something useful for my future. At least now that I'm a teacher myself, I try to give a positive contribution to the world. Of course, I'm not perfect, but I try to do something different than consciously and criminally stealing people time, making them think that they will actually never be able to make something good in their life. So when other people and teachers say that learning is a journey, I say, yes, it is, but in my experience of language school courses, unfortunately, this phrase is prone to be used to justify years of method that don't actually deliver results. And this is something that I cannot accept, of course. My obsession with speed isn't about pressure, but it's about not losing time that you cannot get back. Language for me was useful only when I was able to actually speak it decently, I say. I don't speak well, but at least decently. For example, good Persian, even self-taught with tons of mistakes and problems, was actually what allowed me to get my first job experiences. Thanks to the ability of speaking with Iranian companies at trade fairs in Europe and Italy. No family connection, no help from the career service of the university, none of that, And that was extremely empowering. Decent Russian meant that, for example, during a random pass control in Moscow, which is something that could happen at least when I was there as an intern in 2017, I wouldn't panic because I could at least follow what I was told, because there was often like the good and the bad policeman. So one complaining about the fact that I would go around with just a photocopy of my passport, like I was told, as I was told to do by the embassy, and with the embassy stamp, and the other one would say, yes, but even if it's a photocopy, it's good because there is the embassy stamp. Of course, so it's fine. Both things happened when I was autonomous, which is actually my objective for my students. I want to make them autonomous so that they can use the language for their own lives. And it happened when I could do everything on my own, not when I studied. For example, I still couldn't do it right now in German, in spite of spending at least 3 years in class, plus additional courses I had afterwards. So I learned when I could use the language for myself. I'm sorry, but fake conversation designed for exams barely stuck to my brain. Listening exercises were extremely boring, uncomfortable and frustrating, and they were useful only for tests, until I discovered that actually listening in loop to something that mattered to me, or something that I really enjoyed, was actually helping me make my listening skills way better, way faster. I crave connection to reality, to real people and real experiences, and when I started having regular and weekly practice, even messy or imperfect, but at least consistent, I started feeling the language mine, and I saw more progress in a few months than in a few years, of course. The problem is that the format ate the time without producing the results. And that's the whole reason behind the frequency circle. If you've been doing courses for a while and the results aren't there, that's exactly who it's for. You write in your target language, Italian, French or Dutch, 2 to 3 times a week, and I respond to everything to prompt a conversation. We meet live across languages. There is a free trial, you can check the link below. Give it at least a month, but if you post at least twice a week for 4 weeks and join one meeting but you're still not happy, you will get your money back. I want you to learn fast, not to stress you out, but I want you to have more time to live and enjoy the conversations that languages make possible. Time isn't waiting. If you're not ready for that yet, I strongly recommend to start with journaling at least. And you can find also a free guide in the link below. And if you're not on the newsletter yet, subscribe to Diary of a Language Freak on Substack.